Hello everyone, welcome to the Devlog, and in this video we're going to be showing a bunch of new things, including a new village, designed by myself. We're going to be showing the boss and the NPC, drawn by Spicy Lemon member number 1, and we're going to be seeing the battle system, or at least the beta version of it. So without further ado, let's just get right into it.
Spicy Lemon!
Okay, so starting off, we have our new boss character. This guy is going to be a tiny little jester, and he's going to try and take over the land. Wanna know why? Because he wants to. Honestly, literally, he just wants to. And when he meets Spunk, Spunk is literally going to laugh at him because of how stupid he looks. He literally looks like a clown. So he's going to get offended by that and knock Spunk into next week, all the way over into the new town. But when we were trying to go for his design, we were trying to make him look like... we wanted to make him look semi-cool, but also look silly in the process. Because, I'll be honest, we don't really want, too hard of a villain. This is supposed to be a lighthearted and funny game. So when we were designing it, we made sure to give him wacky colors so that you didn't just see one color. We didn't want it to be bland. We wanted a villain that sort of popped. And so he worked really well with the scene. And so he's going to destroy Mushtown from what we are thinking. And when he destroys it, he is going to do it in a wacky way that we'll probably show in the next video. I'm pretty sure we will, because that's going to take a cutscene and that's going to take quite a bit of work. But when we do get it, it's going to be awesome. So there is that. We also did the shady NPC. He's going to sell you items. We finally we were able to put him in game, and I'm going to show you that soon. But for now, when we were going for Shady Dude's design, we wanted him to look like a bunch of enemies stacked into each other. With Shady Guy, the items that you're going to be able to get are very special items. Maybe there'll be collectibles that you missed, and you can get them from him, but you can only get a certain amount. Because if he gets caught, then you can't buy from him anymore. So we figured that'd be a neat little detail to add to the character. And so we're thinking he's going to go from town to town, and each time that you meet him, you can get a different point. And maybe at the end, when there's no more towns to go left to, you can just go to him at a certain spot, or maybe you find his base. So without further ado, let's go into the next bit. By the way, this is what Shady Dude looks like in-game. Now, we couldn't get his eyes to work correctly, but I will edit that later. But besides that, he looks pretty good. He's going to be in the new town that we're making. So, on to the next bit. Alright, and the reason you want this is because if the heads-up display doesn't show, that can really break the game. It's bad. If that doesn't show, then the RPG will be broken. That's one of the core concepts of an RPG that you cannot lose. So I'm going to get Spicy Lemon member number 3 to check this again. We saw it work. It's pretty good. So besides that, we also have the sliders that control the HP. And the reason that's good is because that's also a core concept. When you click attack, you want the other person to lose HP. If that doesn't work, then the RPG isn't going to work itself. So we're glad that we're able to get that finalized. If it wasn't, then it wouldn't be too hard to fix. But it's one of those things that we don't want to break. Another thing that we have is we have enumerator states, which I don't know what they are in the slightest. Side note, I just found out what an enumerator is, and apparently it's a variable that saves the state of something. So that would make sense, because it's saving the state of whose role it is. So, the more you know. There's also a quick heads up here, but for this battle system, we did use brackeys. Most of our stuff we actually code on our own, and we try to do that mostly, but sometimes it gets a little difficult, so we're glad to have Brackies. We'll link the video back down in the description, just because he's been so helpful to us along our journey. But for the most part, Spicy Lemon member number 3 loves doing his work on his own, and he doesn't really like using other systems, because we want to learn from this. This is supposed to be a learning experience for us, so we're trying to do everything independently. So we'd love it if you actually go subscribe to Brackies. We're sad he left, but if you can show him any more support, then we'd love to see it. Now, on to the next section. Okay, so the way the system works is you can control the level of the enemy and how much HP it has using these sliders. This is the basic enemy. We're going to call it the Fly, but it's going to be found in the more basic areas, such as the plains and stuff like that. Now, the reason we wanted to have it like this was mainly because we followed the tutorial, and it's much easier. Instead of having to you and type it in, you can just scroll the slider. Simple when balancing out enemies. We might set up a randomizer for this, especially since you don't want it to be too linear or it's gonna get boring eventually. We want to have a difficulty curve, or maybe an easy. We don't want it to be too hard or too easy. We want it to be a big jumble of I guess would be difficulties. But the thing is, with this system, we don't have the attack and dialogue yet. Now we have it finished, we have them drawn out, we have the text, but it took a bit more time, and sadly we didn't have enough time to do it. And because of that, we're going to try and get it in the next devlog, or check the Twitter page, we might post an update there. So without further ado, let's go on to the next section. Finally, we're on to my bit. Alright, I worked pretty hard on this town. What's going to happen is Spunk is going to get knocked over the mountain and into this town. And the reason that is, he's going to make fun of the villain, and he's going to get super mad. And since the villain is super strong, and that's how he's going to take over the valley, he's going to take over the entire land. He's got to have something backing him, so when he throws Spunk out of the, Mushroom Town? When he throws him out of Mushroom Town, he's gonna land in this quaint little log town. And I wanted it to be like a bunch of cabins huddled together behind this mountain. And I'm going to be adding snow soon. Snow system. Check Twitter. We might be adding that there. But besides that, it looks pretty nice. The design I was going for, I wanted it to be like, I didn't want it to be overwhelming. I wanted it to be like you get into this nice little town and you want to do some goals before you can actually get out of the mountains, because that's the main quest that Spunk's going to be trying to do. He's going to be going around and helping out townspeople and preparing himself for the journey back, because this villain is not messing around. He upset him quite a bit. So, in doing so, Spunk's gonna have to go help around townspeople, maybe get some items, maybe even meet the shady NPC from time to time to get some more items, but the thing is, we want it to be balanced. We don't want you to throw you right into the action, but we also don't want it to be too easy. We like I said earlier, we want it to be this mixed difficulty. And we might even add some more settings to make it harder. But for now, you're going to end up in this valley. I think it might lead out to some plains once you get through the mountain, but I really like the design here, especially with the cell shading, With the cell shading, it really complements the mountain, I won't lie. It shows its crevices and all the details to it. And I was trying to go for that when I was designing it. Thank you, Ant Landscape in Blender. It's a free add-on that you can get. Might show a tutorial on that, but besides that, it's looking pretty good. Now, when you get outside the mountain, you're going to see Destroyed Mush Town once you get through the plains, and then you're going to be let out into the wild. Basically, this area is not really a tutorial, but more of getting you immersed with the controls. Well, like I said, it's a tutorial, but still. It's getting you immersed with the controls, getting you to meet townspeople, and getting you to understand the charm of the game. We want it to be funny and lighthearted. Now, without further ado, let's go into the next section. Now, as you might already see, the way I made these houses was actually quite simple. I used a bunch of cylinders, and I used subdivision surface quite a bit. Now, if you're not really into Blender, you don't really understand what it's like, it's actually quite simple. What you need to do is you need to spawn in a cylinder, Shift A, and when you spawn it in, you can just add a subdivision surface. Then you add some loop cuts to it, and boom. I took the cylinders and scaled them up and made them look like logs, because when I was building this, it reminded me when I used to use my old Lincoln logs, but I wanted it to look like a nice little log cabin. So they're usually a bunch of wood stacked onto each other in a rectangular pattern. Now, houses aren't usually rectangular, so I wanted to give some differentiation in this one, because I had... Is that even a word? Who cares? When I was making the house, I wanted it to have a bunch of shapes in it, because houses aren't just going to be squares. You're going to have a bunch of rooms inside them. They're going to contour to the details of the house. So in this, I wanted to make it like a sort of T shape, and when I was working it, I made sure to add columns on each different corner as support, because these are log houses. They could fall over quite easily. A little bit of wind, the house just goes right over. So that's how I made the logs on the outside, and I used the roof from my what's it called? Back when I was working on the old houses for the steampunk idea, I really liked the way the roofs looked on that, so I decided to just slap it on top of the cabin. And it works. Then I put it into Unity. Make sure when you're adding it there, you want to use FBX files. And when I used the FBX files, I exported it into Unity, and then from there, just added cell shading. By the way, the cell shading looks really cool. I'll leave a link in the description for that as well. And that is all the time we have left. So, thank you for watching the video. If you got this far, do the likey and subscribe thing. I don't really care. We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any advice, leave it down below. We don't care if it's bad or good. We love learning. As long as it's, especially in these tough times, we want to deliver to you guys. And it's pretty upsetting to see all the things that are going on. So if you're watching these videos to get you through these tough times, we love making these videos and we love showing them to you guys. So besides that, that's all the time we got. So without further ado, don't forget, you're amazing. Oh yeah, and also check out our Twitter. Link in the description.